Hello, I wanted to talk about why people act a little strange when they're not meeting you face to face. So, when they're online or when you're messaging them. I've got a few examples to share, so I'll start off with the first one is when you send a message to somebody. It could be a text message or a WhatsApp or some sort of a written message basically, and they don't reply to it. And it's even worse when they've read your message and they don't reply. So that almost shows disrespect. Now I know sometimes people do forget, so do I. But if I do forget, then I will respond back. First of all, with a really long message, and it would start off with an apology to say I genuinely forgot to reply back. But I wouldn't answer back with a one word or a one sentence because that's rude, regardless. So it'll be a long message, just to show some respect. The other ones I've got are the group chats that we have. So often you're not going to have everybody obviously contributing. Most people would come, read, and go away, and that's perfectly fine. But sometimes you're asking for specific things, and people don't respond. So they come in, read a message, and they don't respond. So things like, for example, meeting up. Shall we meet up? Let's meet next week. And people come, read a message, and they go away. Obviously, they don't wish to come, and that's okay. But it'd be nice if somebody could just acknowledge to say, that's a great idea. I'm sorry I can't make it. Some people do that, and it's really nice because it shows some respect. Otherwise, organizing meetups isn't exactly easy. The ones who've done it would know it's quite painful, and it feels even worse when you're putting in all this effort and energy and people aren't responding to it. It gets even worse when you organize an event, people say yes they'll come and they don't show up, and they don't send you a message to say they won't turn up. But hey, such is life, stuff happens. But I'm just sharing my thoughts because these are the things that annoy me, and I know it annoys other people too, but nobody talks about it. And perhaps if we spoke about it, then people would be conscious of their actions, and we'll just be a little bit more emotionally intelligent and care about people's feelings, and just become better people basically. So besides WhatsApp messages, text messages, I've got example of Facebook. So often when I'm scrolling through, I would see a friend's post and I would put a like on it, and if it's really good, you comment on it. But like button to me is an acknowledgement to say I've read your post and it's nice. Like doesn't necessarily mean I'm in love with your post, although Facebook now gives you lots of other options too besides just like. But my point is, if you're scrolling through, it's nice to acknowledge people when they post something, especially when they post something really, really good. The content's really, really nice and it's eye-opening, or it gives you new knowledge, new information, new perspective, or even if it's funny, if it's something humorous. Often people just watch it, view it, and then just move on to the next thing. An acknowledgement is always nice. And what happens over time is, you end up liking other people's posts, and if they never ever acknowledge your post, then you eventually stop, right? That's human behavior. So when they don't acknowledge your existence, and then what happens eventually is somebody who is getting 50, 60 likes, let's say, or whatever number, then their likes begin to drop too, and I'm sure it hurts them because everybody wants to be acknowledged, right? We've all read reports whereby a comment or a like or a share gives people happiness because it shows that people are reading this stuff. And I keep repeating the word acknowledgement, but acknowledging basically what they've shared or what they've published, what they've put out. But we're quite funny as human beings, we like to receive all the love, but when it comes to giving it back, we're not so conscious about it. Some are, very few are, a very, very small proportion of society are, they're aware of it, but sadly not everybody is. The other example I've got are, I've got friends who created Facebook groups, and that's very nice of them because they want to share some content, which is perfectly fine, but they just want to make sure they're sharing it amongst, their good friends. So a group would have an X number of people, and often people will again come in, see the post, and they won't acknowledge it, they won't like it, they won't comment on it. And the worst thing is, you can actually see how many people have viewed that post. So it will say seen by 60 people, and there's not a single like on it. And it just makes the original person who posted it look like a fool almost, because they created a group, they're constantly posting stuff on it, people are obviously viewing it, they haven't left the group, so they obviously like it, or they haven't left out of respect, whatever it might be. But how hard is it to just tell somebody that, yes, that was good, like, a comment would be even better, but it doesn't have to be a comment, right? Pressing a button just would make somebody so happy, but we don't do it. We go around all day passing all these magnanimous quotes about, how I want to do good in the world, I want to do charity, I want to make people happy. Well, small stuff like that also makes people happy. And when people do it to you, it makes you happy. Hence why you're on social media, right? Because if you stopped getting acknowledgement, I'm sure you'll come off it very soon. So people have been saying this for centuries, right? For thousands of years. Do treat others as you would want to be treated. It's a simple line, but we just haven't learned it for some reason. Right, anyway, so moving away from that, the final rant I have is, what was my final rant? I've forgotten about it. So I've done WhatsApp, I've done Facebook. Yeah, the quotes was the last one actually. But I'll go into more detail. So sometimes you're really, really impressed, by somebody because they send you an amazing quote. I used to get really, really impressed, by the way, when this quote thing first started. So people will share really, really nice things, wise stuff, something you learn from. But then you see them doing the exact opposite in real life. And that was quite shocking, because if you say one thing, or if you're sharing a certain type of mentality, or quotes, lines, poetry, whatever it might be, nobody's expecting you to live 100% up to it. But if you're doing exactly the opposite, that's confusing for others. And I'm not saying stop it, but I'm just saying I found that very interesting, that people say one thing, they like to be seen as they'll sometimes you get these religious quotes too, believe in God, always do good, never do bad, wonderful stuff. And then you see them doing exactly the opposite in real life. So you begin to think, well, what bit of your own quote that you shared did you not understand? But I suppose we're just human, right? So everybody aspires to be good, but we haven't got that camera on us, so we can watch ourselves to see how good we really are, be self-critical, be able to assess ourselves. I suppose in our minds everybody's a saint, right? We're all good, we're all amazing in our own minds, but if we see it from somebody else's eyes, I'm sure it'll be a different story. So yeah, that's all I wanted to share. Just a few observations about how people act a little strange when they're not face to face. Because if we are face to face with somebody, I'm sure if you ask them a question, they won't just ignore you. They can't blank you, right? You're standing there, so they have to respond. Whereas over a text message or over social media, we have the facility of replying back later or not replying at all. All of which is quite rude. That's all. Rant over. I've got nothing else to say. Thanks.